Morning, everyone, and welcome to Caltrans District 11's second Prepare for the Fair workshop. My name is Maria Ibarra. I'm the Business Services Manager overseeing the small business team here at District 11. And the intent of today's workshop is to prepare a vendor, you, that is interested in submitting quotes to our district purchasers, while attending our annual procurement fair and resource fair by providing the tools and resources you will need to fulfill initial requirements. So in this workshop, I will first provide you with an overview of the upcoming procurement and resource fair, which is actually scheduled on Wednesday, August 31st. And then I will introduce you to our guest speakers from the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, or PTAC, our Small Business Development Center, Sbdc, the Department of General Services, DGS, MWS and Associates, Caltrans Office of Civil Rights, or OCR, and District 11's Administration Resources Unit. So let's go ahead and jump right in and go over some important details to know about our procurement and resource fair. Okay, so after 2 years of holding this event virtually, we are very excited to be holding this year's procurement fair in partnership with our San Diego Public Agency Consortium in person and in our District 11 courtyard. So our Caltrans District 11 is conveniently located next to the Old Town Transit Center. So attendees are encouraged to use public transportation. We also offer free parking. It will be available on site as shown in the yellow highlight on the district map, as you can see on the right hand of the slide. So once inside the district, you will be able to connect with our exhibitors. This year's exhibitors include Caltrans District 11 purchasers from the divisions of administration, maintenance, corridors, engineering, design, environmental, traffic, construction, planning and local assistance, right-of-way, and land surveys. In addition to our district purchasers, the fair will feature exhibitors from our Clean California and Adopt a Highway programs. At the Clean California booth, you will have an opportunity to learn firsthand about upcoming projects in San Diego. The Adopt a Highway booth will highlight its program, which aims to keep our roadways clean by inviting businesses, civic groups, and individuals to adopt stretches of roadway, on and off ramps, or park and ride lots for litter cleanup and vegetation control, as well as shrub and wildflower plantings and graffiti removal. You will also have a chance to meet members of our public agency consortium and learn about their upcoming opportunities. And lastly, the fair will feature the chairs of our construction and professional services committees who will exhibit on behalf of the Caltrans District 11 Local Small Business Council. The Small Business Council was established to promote the effective implementation of federal and state requirements and assist with issues relating to participation in Caltrans contracts. So our council is comprised of individuals from business trade associations, Caltrans staff, construction industry representatives, public agency partners, and other businesses on an as-needed basis. So we encourage you to stop by their booth to learn about the council and how you can get involved. So as you can see from our growing list of exhibitors, the Procurement and Resource Fair provides a great networking opportunity for your small business. So if you have not registered, please register today and we hope to see you then. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about what to expect during our 18th Annual Procurement and Resource Fair, I'd like to bring out Mike Sabellico with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center to talk more about PTAC services and give you some best tips on getting into government contracting. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Maria. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Can you guys see the slideshow?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Sabellico. I'm the Interim Regional Director here at the Procurement Technical Assistance Center for San Diego, Orange, and Imperial counties. And thanks for taking the time to spend your morning with us. As a business owner, your most precious commodity is your time. So it's very important that you use that wisely. And I think preparing for an event like this and attending this training event prior to the actual live event is going to reap you great dividends. So without further ado, I'll jump into it. So what is a Ptac? Again, we're the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We've been here about 25 years in San Diego. What do? Well, we train businesses on various training topics, and I'll show you what those are in a second. And we also do one-on-one counseling. Now, this says we're operating virtually only. We're in this hybrid period where we are seeing clients face-to-face if they'd like. So our office is located in National City at the Southwestern Community College Higher Education Center here on Main Street. Prior to the pandemic, we saw 60% of our clients via Zoom 1-hour meetings anyways, because it made a lot more sense for them to do a 1-hour meeting on Zoom, vice driving down to our office, waiting around, slugging through traffic, having a 1-hour meeting, and then going back. And the 40% that, we're seeing us in person pretty much did so because they didn't have Zoom or didn't understand Zoom. Well, the pandemic made everybody understand Zoom. So 95% of our clients now are seeing us via Zoom, but we will see clients in person. Who do we help? We help small businesses of all different types. You can see here 8A, Hub Zone, veteran, minority, women-owned. And we also help large businesses too. And the key phrase here is we'll help you how to learn business with the federal, state, and local government at no cost to the business. We are funded by DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency, which is a component command of DoD. So our services are paid for by your tax dollars. So you should certainly take advantage of what we can provide to you. We couldn't do what we do without our local sponsors, and we have a host of local sponsors. Our primary sponsor is Southwestern College, who is our host. They're a tremendous host, but we have some water districts. We've got San Diego Unified. We've got the Airport Authority, Department of General Services, a couple of large primes in Sun and Harper, General Atomics, which is a large DoD prime, and our sponsor list is growing by the day. We also, I don't want to forget Sandag because they're a great sponsor, and I just saw Elaine at a couple of events. So these are our local sponsors. We couldn't do what we do without their sponsorship. Okay, who is Ptac Helping? Well, this is kind of by the numbers, and this is what we've done. I think this data is from 2020. We have to update it with 2021 data, but you can see the amount of contract dollar of value and the percentage by different types of economic business classes. Some outcomes from 2020, we had total contracts awarded of over 1.8 billion, about 1,200 jobs, and we have a pretty good client satisfaction rating. So you can't please everyone, but a 98% rating is pretty good in my book. So this is the meat of the presentation this morning. And what we're talking about is how can you be successful with government contracting? So you're all, you're in different stages of your business. Some of you are just starting, some have been around for a while. But one of the key things that any business has to do is you have to research your market. So Maria just showed you the clients that are going to, or the booths that are going to be there. You should research those booths and figure out, is there some synergy with a particular booth or a particular company, and know what they do, what they buy, what they're looking for. So when you go to the booth, you're going to know that information going into it. And when you initiate that contact, it's going to be a better contact. You're going to show them that you've done some research on them, and that's going to be something that they're going to appreciate, and they'll be more likely to talk to you about possible opportunities and ways that you can work together. So know what agencies buy your products and services. The government buys everything from paper clips to missiles. But for instance, Lockheed Martin doesn't buy the parts to the missile. Lockheed Martin buys the missile. So if you're a subcontractor that makes a motherboard, then you're going to be a subcontractor to somebody who provides the entire missile to Lockheed Martin. So keep that in mind. They buy everything, but they may not buy the specific part that you're selling. And then know what agencies buy what. I had, I'm a veteran, so I had a Marine Corps spouse opened up a beauty supply company, and she was like, I want to sell some shampoo to the Marine Corps. And I said, well, that's a problem. Number one, the Marines don't have a lot of hair, so they don't need a lot of shampoo. And secondly, they're not going to buy this high-end shampoo for their Marines. They're going to buy the cheapest shampoo that they can buy. Now, conversely, you might be able to sell it in the PX or the commissary where, the rest of the family shops, and they may want some higher end products. So again, know what agencies buy your products or services, and then do some research on that agency to make sure you're doing whatever you can to leverage yourself with that particular agency. Find your niche. There's a lot of people out there selling shampoo or selling widgets. So make sure that if you have a niche, you find it, because the competition is fierce. All right. And the government's not unlike you or I. I was telling everybody at the most recent event I was at that I used to go to the same barbershop. I used to go to Sports Clips, and the same stylist cut my hair every time. I liked her. She was good, and it was, I don't know, about 25 bucks. So another barbershop opened up down the street, and, the haircut is $18 here. Does that mean I'm going to run to that barbershop because it's $7 cheaper? No, I like to go to the same barber. I want somebody that I know and I trust and that I've been doing business with. Well, the government's the same way. That's why it's hard to get in at first. It's not impossible, but you have to understand that the government operates like normal buyers too. So the competition is fierce. Sometimes the way in is with a better price. Sometimes it's because, a small business has grown out of being a small business and there's an opportunity as a small business again. But basically, you're going to have to fight your way into that market. Understand the areas of government spending, understand how they operate. For instance, we're kind of be coming into the last quarter pretty quickly here for the federal fiscal year. Typically in the last quarter, they're going to spend their budget that they haven't spent. It's called use it or lose it. So there'll be more spending in this quarter and much less spending October 1st through December 31st, which is the first quarter. A lot of times in the first quarter, we're under a continuing resolution, so the government isn't buying as much. And then finally, know your competition and their contracts. Understand who you're competing against. Understand who they have contracts with. Understand what their pricing is. So there's different pieces of information you can get from your competition, and that information is likely out there, posted and available publicly. You need to find that stuff and then research. So research your market means knowing, again, who buys your stuff. All right. Find your own niche. Find how you can get that competitive advantage. Understand the government and how they spend. And keep in mind, the government spends in different ways. The federal government has a different fiscal year than the state government. Caltrans buys a little bit differently than other state agencies. So that's what I mean. Understand the areas and the way the government purchases according to which target is most likely to be your target. And then finally, know your competition. Remember, it's all about the customers. Customers are going to create market-driven opportunities. Every Christmas, there's always this fad little toy. One year it was Squeeze Me Elmo, or one year it was this thing that you threw against the wall and it was sticky and it would crawl down the wall. But those are market driven. That's, it's a holiday gift that is market driven. There are market driven opportunities in government contracting too. What did we most recently see during the pandemic? Lots of money was being taken from other projects and put towards PPE. For those of you who don't know what PPE is, it's personal protective equipment. That was a huge, huge opportunity during the pandemic. And it still is an opportunity now. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks about your concept, except your customers. If they don't care, no one's going to buy your product. If you don't have customers, if you don't have somebody willing to take their wallet out, open it up, take a dollar bill out and buy your product, it's an oversimplification of it. But if they won't do that, then you're not going to be successful. You could have the best product in the world, but it could be so overpriced that no one's going to buy it. And then quality market research includes gathering information from your customers. Okay, and I'm going to go a step further. It includes gathering information from your customers, from your employees, from your friends, from other people in the industry. So market research is everybody. A good example of this is when I was in the Coast Guard, I made a habit of walking around the ship. My final tour, I was lucky enough to be a commanding officer of a Coast Guard cutter. And I was walking around the ship daily, and I saw this new kid who had just reported aboard, been aboard about a week. He was a seaman recruit. And I asked him how he liked the ship so far, and he was, very well spoken. He was a little bit older. He was a college graduate. Most of our seaman recruits were out of high school, so a little bit more mature. He said, "Great, Captain. This is an awesome ship, and I love it." He goes, "But there's one thing that I think we could improve upon." And I was kind of taken aback because that's not what I traditionally would get from a new person on the, reported aboard for a week. And he went through this process about how to lower our small boat a little bit more safely. And it made a whole lot of sense. So I called the boatswain mate Master Chief over. I said, "Master Chief, this young man has a real interesting concept here. Let's listen to him." We listened to him. We put a proposal together. We sent it up to the Atlantic area cutter fleet supervisors. And about a month later, it was the new way that the entire fleet of cutters in the Atlantic area would lower their small boat because it was that much more safe. Now, again, this is not a direct relation to business, but what I'm trying to say is listen to your employees too, because they're involved in the day-to-day operation of what you do. So get information from everybody around. And then customers hopefully can refine and perfect your business concept and make your business more successful. All right, so our key points here before I turn it over: analyzing the market's going to help you determine who's going to most likely buy your product or service. And again, people say, "I want to sell to the government, Mike." And my next question is, well, who in the government? And they say the United States Navy. I say, okay, that's getting better, but who in the Navy? Well, somebody in San Diego. I'm like, well, San Diego is the third largest naval forces concentration in the world, so that doesn't help us either. So we finally drilled down to, I want to sell to the fleet, or I want to sell to the Special Operations Command, or you have to find out who you're going to sell to. And then we figure out how do we get to that particular purchaser. Right. And it will also allow you to determine if there's a sustainable demand for your product or service. So if they're buying like one widget a year and there's already 10 people supplying bids on that widget, it's probably not worth going after. But if they're buying, 10,000 widgets a year, then maybe if you capture 2 or 3% of that market, it's going to be a sustainable demand for your product or service. You need to analyze the industry and know what's important in understanding the attractiveness of your opportunity. This is selling yourself. Learn how to sell yourself, your capability statement, your pitch, how you approach potential customers. All that is very important so that you can adequately give them an understanding of why they should do business with you. And you got to understand the key factors to understand the industry as well as your competitors. And we've kind of talked about that already. The outcome of this process is to arrive at a competitive strategy that helps you leverage the inherent value of your product or service or of your offering, okay? All right, so that was short and sweet about government contracting. We offer a lot of training, a lot of webinars, in our one-on-one counseling. We can actually dig down and figure out, what specifically you need. So that's what the Ptac can provide. Again, our services are offered at no cost. We do them virtually or live. Our next webinars are You Ready for Government Contracting on August 3rd. We've got government certifications on August 9th. We've got some good webinars that talk about doing business with. So U.S. Customs and Border Protection is on August 18th. So you'll have a representative from CBP actually up there telling you this is where we see some opportunities for small business. And these are our small business needs for the coming year. So it's a fantastic webinar. It talks about how to do business specifically with them. And if you remember correctly, I said every agency is a little bit different. Well, Customs and Border Patrol, there's no exception, but you'll also get some opportunities there. And then U.S. Department of General Services is on September 27th. There's a great event coming up, September 6th through the 8th, the Navy Gold Coast Conference. If you're interested in doing business with the U.S. Navy, obviously that is an event that you must attend. It's the largest small business opportunity conference in the country annually for the Navy, and we have a lot of other federal representatives from different agencies that will be at that event. We'll have a booth there. I'm also presenting two short webinars there. If you're already a counselor, if you're already a client, you can request an appointment at the middle email here. If you are looking to become a client of ours, the top email is, or the website's where you go to sign up to be a client. And if you're not in our area, which is you're not in San Diego, Orange, and Imperial counties, we are regionally restricted by our grant, but I will make sure that you get help from another PTAC. There are PTACs located across the country, and we also have an Sbdc who has an awesome consultant in Cheryl Brown, and she'll be speaking next, but she's up in North County at Maricosta Community College at the Sbdc there. So there's plenty of resources out there to find some help. And if we can't help you and you can't find it on your own, I guarantee you that I will help you and get you connected with somebody who can help from the PTAC or one of our local partner organizations. You can connect with us on all social media. We've got all kinds of stuff. I'm not a big tweeter or a Instagram person myself, but we do have accounts there. And questions.
It looks like they are letting you off easy, Mike. We didn't
Excellent.
receive any questions, but I don't know if you notated it, but if you wanted to highlight Ptac Day, now's a great time for you to talk about it.
That's a good point. Thank you, Maisel.
No
This is
problem.
one of the changes I was supposed to put aside. So we recently found out that we will be celebrating annual Ptac Day again, and we've been given the date of September 21st. There's more details to follow, but we're going to have a much smaller version of what Caltrans is doing in our own courtyard here at Southwestern Community College, and it will be September 21st. We'll have most of the PAC representatives and all of our sponsors and a few other booths in a very short panel as well. So keep that date in mind, and I will stop sharing now. Or did you already stop sharing for me, myself?
No.
Okay.
I went ahead and stopped sharing for you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you, Alex. All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you for reminding me about that, Maisel. And if anyone has any questions, there's my email. Happy to answer any questions you have. And good luck, and I'll see you all at the fair.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you again, Mike. I'd like to go ahead and bring out Cheryl Brown with the Small Business Development Center to give us a brief overview of Sbdc services. Welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having us. As always, Mike does a great job with the PTAC. I would have to say that our local PTAC here in San Diego County is probably one of the best in the country. They truly are skilled at what they do. They really know their stuff, and they don't just, walk the walk, they also talk the talks or something like that. I always mess up those sayings, but thank you. I've been with the Sbdc program since 2007. I'm a program advisor. I'm actually a procurement specialist. So in addition to PTAC, we have a procurement program as well with the Sbdc that helps advisors, help small businesses just like PTAC in navigating all the various agencies, whether it be federal, state, local, multi-state. And so today, though, what I'd like to be able to do is kind of tell you a little bit about the elevator pitch or the 2-minute pitch. This is going to be your starting point for the fair. So what is the elevator pitch? What is the 2-minute pitch? See, next slide. Am I able to control that? Okay. So here are the facts, and Mike mentioned this. Marketing is the only way to generate revenue. It's the only way. And the government is no different. So the ultimate role or the ultimate result of marketing is obviously revenues being generated. That's the ultimate goal. But there are 2 things that have to happen before you can make money. Number 1, your audience, your buyer, your customer needs to be able to remember your name. Name recognition comes first. And so for your first meeting or your first introduction, they hear your name that one time, they're not going to remember it after that. Well, I will pause. There are 2 reasons why somebody would remember your name in that first meeting. A, you are a uppercase VIP, very important person, or lowercase VIP, very irritating person. And remember, first impressions do last a lifetime. So first and foremost, name recognition. And the only way this happens is with your follow-up. So you're going to have an opportunity to interact and engage with these buyers at the fair. And so you want to make sure that that first impression lasts a lifetime as an uppercase VIP. But that's not where everything is going to happen. It's going to happen with the follow-up. The next thing that has to happen before revenues can be generated is that you have to develop some trust and some rapport with your customer. Again, government is no different. Open dialogue, asking open-ended questions that have nothing to do with buying your product or service. It has everything to do with understanding what your customer needs. Now, you can do this across all customer segments, whether it be private sector or public sector, but questions such as, what are you currently doing in the areas of purchasing or procuring your product or service? So if I'm speaking to, Maysel, I say, good morning, Maysel. My name is Cheryl Brown. We provide equipment maintenance services for heavy equipment, primarily diesel trucks. What is Caltrans currently doing in the areas of procuring maintenance services for their fleet? That's it. And you're prompting an open dialogue. So now Maysel has to kind of answer. Oh, you know what? Well, we do this, we do that. Wonderful. And then we get into another question. And you really want to make sure that you're not bombarding your audience with several questions at once, because you want to have a reason to follow up. Once you have that name recognition, once there's trust developed, that's when the revenues will start. So in essence, marketing and sales is very, very different. You, as the small business, you're going to drive the marketing bus. When your customer recognizes your name, once they have some trust, they will take over and driving the sales bus by asking questions that are like, what are your rates? How soon can you deploy? They're going to ask those questions. Let your customer drive that bus while you drive the marketing bus. Next slide, please. So, how to prepare. It's very, very simple. This is the elevator pitch. There are different types of pitches, like there's the sales pitch, there's the capabilities pitch, there's a number of different pitches. This is an elevator pitch. And the reason why they call an elevator pitch is it's what you can do in the time that you're riding an elevator with somebody. So you're going to keep it super simple. Your name, your company name, your specific product or service. Do not, please, do not say, we can provide whatever you need. What is it that you need? Please don't do that. The government likes and wants to work with small businesses that have a specialty, if you will. Now, it could be, if you're a commodities person, it could be that you can provide a number of different products. But stick, at least at this point, stick with the sweet spots. I recommend no more than 3. Always try to refer to a past project or past experience. Again, keeping it very simple, keeping it relative. See, when we reference something we've done, that really justifies that we can do it. So, hey, my name is Cheryl Brown. I'm with Brown Consulting Services. We provide civil and engineering design services. Most recently, we supported the ABC contractors to develop the SR-39 bridge. What are you currently doing in the areas of procuring, engineering, and services? So I just completely winged that. I didn't practice that at all. So I probably got some of the terms incorrect, but that's it. That's all it is. Now, nonverbal is just as important as verbal. Remember, when you're virtual, make sure you're testing your audio and your video. Make sure you turn your cell phones off, like I didn't do. Eye contact, tone of voice, body language. Try to eliminate distractions. It's very important that your body language and your tone of voice reflect what you're trying to say. And if you're not quite sure, because my husband's, this is like my husband's thing. He could be perfectly happy and perfectly normal, but he's walking around and he's like, "Urgh, urgh, urgh." I'm like, honey, what's wrong? He's like, nothing. Why? He's in get stuff done mode, and so, but his body language is emanating something a little bit different. So if you're not sure what your body language is doing, because you may not be aware of it, don't do the whole practice in front of the mirror thing. Use a video or your camera, put it in the room, exit the room, walk in, and pretend like the camera is your customer that you're talking to. Record yourself. When you can replay that recording without cringing, you know you've got it. Because honestly, you may not even realize what your body language is saying. Next slide, please. So here's an example. You're going to notice the repetitiveness of the name of the company. My name is Susan Smith, founder of S&S Engineering. S&S Engineering is a CSLB licensed engineering firm. S&S Engineering, S&S Engineering. Anybody know why, in this example, and if you can just use the reactions like with a thumbs up or a heart, why are we saying S&S Engineering, S&S Engineering, S&S Engineering, S&S? Maybe, just remember, number one, in marketing, name recognition. Look at this also as kind of like, I like to compare this as like dating. This is the meeting in the produce aisle. So you're in the produce aisle, you're looking at your tomatoes and things, and you see someone and that's attractive and you want to introduce yourself. This is that meeting. The whole purpose of this pitch is to get a first date. That's it. Nothing else. You're not going to get married. You're not going to be able to, you're not going to move in together. This is just the situation to get the first date. Next slide, please. Here's another example, and I believe that we're going to be sending these slide decks out to everybody. So you can literally just copy and paste this and insert your information. Again, this is an example of if you're going to be approaching a prime contractor, a really good word to say is outsource. If you're approaching Sun Construction, for example, and you are in construction management, and you approach Sun and say, this is who we are, this is what we do. What is Sun Construction currently doing in the areas of outsourcing their construction management services? That's your viability question number one. They may or may not buy your services, but you want to find this out right away, so that you're not wasting your time. And as Mike mentioned, time is your most valuable commodity, if you will. You don't want to waste your time marketing to Sun Construction as a construction management firm because they don't outsource that piece of the work. So you want to make sure that you're finding that out right away. Next slide, please. So here are some sample questions that you can use to help prompt an open dialogue. Always, always, always try to remember, try not to ask yes and no questions. So what is currently doing in the areas of procuring? What are your minimum requirements? This is super important. Minimum requirements such as insurance and bonding can disqualify you right off the bat. So you want to find that out pretty quickly. What is your procurement process? What would we need to do to be eligible for opportunities? What certifications, if any, would benefit? All of these things, and again, these questions you can ask anybody, but what they do is they open a dialogue. One question per connection. These are what they call qualifying questions so that you can determine whether or not the person you're speaking to is the right buyer for you, the right person. Say something right now. Not every buyer is going to be your buyer, and that's okay. You want to find out, though, A, do they procure your product or service? And if you find yourself saying, well, they would, they could, they should, I gotta tell you, woulda, coulda, shoulda doesn't pay the mortgage. It's either yes or no. Then the second thing you want to find out is what are the minimum requirements and can you meet them? Because if not, move on to the next contact. Save, be mindful of your time. Next slide, please. All right, so remember, this expo, this initial meeting, if you will, is the purpose is to get a first date, is to open up that dialogue, not get married. So this elevator pitch is a avenue to create additional dialogue, and that happens with the follow-up. Next slide. Alrighty, so here are some tips. Number one, memorize your pitch. Memorize it. Make sure it's the same every single time. You'll find that you'll be able to say it in your sleep. As I mentioned earlier, a good tip is to record yourself. That way you can kind of take a look at, are you speaking too quickly? Are you speaking too slowly? Is the body language complementing what you're saying? Remember, these are people. So I had a client that I was working with for many years, and one day she came into my office very, very frustrated, and she's like, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but every single agency, every single prime contractor knows my name, and she's kind of getting aggressive. This is before COVID, so we were in person, and she's leaning on my desk, and she's kind of in my face, and I'm like, whoa, have you ever considered that maybe you're coming across a little too aggressive? And she never realized it. She's like, oh, I said, try this. Do the recording and watch yourself. A couple days later, she emailed me and she's like, oh my gosh, no wonder why no one's buying from me, because I look like I'm a crazy person. I'm like, well, you're not crazy. You just need a little bit of tweaking. Be prepared for questions. Be prepared to answer questions. If you don't know the answers, make sure you say, hey, you know what? That's a great question. I'll get back to you. Make sure you get back to them. One of the biggest complaints we hear from agencies and prime contractors is that small businesses do not respond, do not follow up. That's going to be half the battle. It'd be nice. This quote right here, although changed the names a little bit, is an exact quote from a buyer that said to one of our clients that we work with, that says, we always call your company because you don't yell at us. You're always so accommodating. We appreciate that. This is literally a quote from a buyer. Now, again, I changed the name from whatever to Bill, but this is an actual quote from a buyer. These are people. And people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. The only difference with the government sector is that you also have to be able to cross your T's and dot your I's. Next slide. So take that information, please, please, please use it for the expo. It's your introduction. We do also provide no-cost support. Business planning, strategic planning, government contracting, proposal writing, capability statement drafting, startup, certification. You name it, we've got it. We offer live and on-demand trainings. We also do our one-on-one advising, and we have over 120 advisors here in the San Diego and Imperial Valley area. So granted, if we don't have an advisor that can help you, we're going to then rely on our other resource partners like the Ptac and the VBOX and the WBCs. So easy, easy, easy. Just go to our website, Sbdv, Sbdc.org, and there's right there in the middle, you can look at our on-demand trainings, you can look at our live trainings, and you can even schedule your appointment, request an advising appointment. Super easy. And I think that might be it for me. Next slide. Haha, there we go. And I think I got 5 minutes to spare. I usually go over. Please do let me know if you have any questions. We'd love to assist you. And I think this is our, gosh, I think this is our 12th or 13th participation in this event from way, way, way back when. I think 2010 might have been our first participation in this event. I can't remember, but
So you started
anyway,
when you started when you were 13. What's going on?
Yes, exactly. Let's put it this way. I wasn't great when I started. Any questions that we have, Maisel?
I did have one that came in, so it can actually go to either Mike or yourself. Have you seen any bidding opportunities for box truck drivers?
So yes. Keep in mind the government does buy everything from beans to bullets. So there have been opportunities. Keep in mind, and this might surprise a lot of people, when we look at all the different opportunities that are available, about 90% do not go out for a full and open competitive bid process. So keep that in mind. Box truck drivers, yes. Do you have your own box trucks? Things, or is it just the driver piece?
That it was not clarified.
So,
I
but
don't know
yes,
if
there are opportunities. I would say to get started, look at the state of California, simply because the state is one of the easiest agencies to do business with, and they do literally buy everything. So you can actually look at starting there to do some of your market research. I believe the state's also going to be doing a presentation as well today. And I know they're going to be at the expo, so.
Yeah, I would echo what Cheryl says. I see that, Caesar says he's an owner operator. He's got his own truck. Yeah, there's various ways to get into that. Cheryl's 100% correct on that. Most of the opportunities are not going to be, a formal competition. There's all kinds of bid boards. There's drive boards. So there's all kinds of different ways to look at it. Certainly willing to help you. I'm sure Cheryl's willing to help too. So that's more of an offline type question to dig into it a little bit more, I would say.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then I wasn't sure if you went over that briefly or not as I was manning the Q&A in chat. Would you encourage capability statements in the procurement and resource fair?
I would say absolutely. Mike?
Yes, 100%. You should carry how many tables are there? Carry enough for 1 or 2 per table. Don't print them on high-end stock. Print them on normal paper. Make it so it's easy to read. Again, these are like business cards. So half of them, unfortunately, will end up in the trash. The other half may be used. So just keep that in mind.
And as Maria had, go ahead, Cheryl.
I was going to say also, we don't need this whole beautiful binder or folders or anything. Save that. Just like Mike said, 1 page, normal paper, and then remember, follow up.
So as Maria has stated at the beginning of the event, we would expect approximately 60 plus exhibitors. So if you want to print your capability statement, I would at least recommend have available about 60 on hand if you are attending the procurement and resource fair. But other than that, I don't think I see any additional questions for you, Cheryl. Looks like they are going easy on you guys.
Yeah, Mike, we either did a really good job or really not so good job. But, we're going to see everybody at the fair anyway. And, of course, you have the resources between Ptac and the Sbdc. You need anything at all, just reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to review that capability statement and all that good stuff. And can't wait to see everybody at the actual fair.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cheryl, and thank you, Mike, for coming back on to answer those questions. Lots of great tips and information to help our attendees feel confident at the day of the fair. So we'll go ahead and move into our next presentation. I'd like to welcome Darvin Manuel with the Department of General Services to talk to us about a couple of the certifications that Caltrans recognizes, the process to get those certifications, and its benefits. Hi, Darvin, welcome.
Hi, are you able to hear me okay? Just wanted to check before I
Yes,
start
you sound
chatting
great.
away. I appreciate it. If you could get me to our first slide, please. All right. Well, first off, I just wanted to thank Caltrans, Maria, Alex, myself. This is such a great webinar to get everyone started. It's my first time being a part of this. And so, I really encourage you to do a lot of your background work prior to attending the the event. And the reason I say that is because Mike with Ptac and Cheryl is giving you some invaluable information on how to approach these advocates or these potential buyers. So, this is a great way for you to get prepared. Next slide, please. Again, my name is Darvin Manuel. I'm with the Department of General Services. And within that department, we are in the procurement division with the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services. My title is a Business Outreach Liaison. And we have a staff of, I want to say, 8, 9 members that do events like these and talk about our program. And so that's what I'd like to review with you today. Next slide, please. All right, so this presentation that I'm showing you right now usually takes us about an hour to discuss. So I brought up an array of topics that I'm going to touch on, but focus more on the ones that I think is going to be important for you to know with the allotted time we have. First one's the overview of Sbdv program. If you don't already know, the state certifications that we provide, Cali Procure registration, keywords, and Unsp Sc codes, what that means, bid solicitations, past purchases, Sbdv advocates, commercially useful function known as CUF, and the different resources. Next slide, please. All right, so the state of California spends about $10 to $12 billion each year in contracts and has a goal to spend 25% of those dollars with small businesses and 3% with disabled veteran business enterprises, known as Dvbe. Each year, this results in billions of dollars going to businesses like yourselves. Next slide, please. All right, so these are the state certifications that we provide. The state of California, through the Department of General Services, offers 3 business certifications. First one is the SB, small business for the purpose of public works, and disabled veteran business enterprise. The state does not have certifications for women-owned businesses, minority-owned, disadvantaged, or veteran-owned. Caltrans does use the federal disadvantaged business enterprise certification, but that applies to Caltrans federally funded projects. So today we're just going to talk about these specific 3 certifications. Next slide, please. So by being certified, you receive several benefits with the state of California or with these certifications. The process sets up your business account on our Cali Procure system, and the state's centralized website for purchasing. So you want to get familiar with this platform with Cali Procure. This is going to be your one-stop shop to getting certified, getting registered, getting all the information for bids and solicitations and such. So having an account allows you to bid on opportunities and be solicited for contracts opportunities. So you'll receive notifications on what's available. You have access to contracts that are exclusive to certified firms. Once you get certified, you get a 5% bid preference as a small business on contracts, and as a Dvbe, you can get up to 5% bid incentive. It all depends on the contract itself. We also have what we call Reciprocity Partners. These are local governments like cities and counties and other organizations. The state will consider your you being certified, even though you don't have specific certifications, because they recognize our state certification. These are just different avenues that you could reach out to. This makes it easier for you to do business with other entities. So lastly, I wanted to go over whenever you work with a prime contractor on a state contract, that you get the benefits of your certification given to them as an incentive to work with you. So there's different ways to take advantage of these incentives. Next slide, please. All right, so this is just the breakdown of what the eligibility requirements are for small business. When you have time later, you could go and access exactly whether you qualify for these. Next slide, please. Small business for the purpose of public works is very similar as far as the requirements concerned. The only difference is this is for public works. The limit is 200 employees, and the gross annual receipts, known as GARS, is 36 million, and that's the limit. Next slide, please. So with Dvbe, Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, this is the other requirements for this certification. A disabled veteran is a veteran of the U.S. military, naval, or air service, has a plus 10% service-connected disability, and you must live in California. So all these certifications mainly are to benefit California and its small businesses. And next slide, please. These are the other requirements for our Dvbe certification. 51% owned by disabled veterans, daily management by disabled veterans, and cannot be a foreign-based business. Next slide, please. All right, so I mentioned Cali Procure, right? This is the software that you will be registering your business to, applying for SB or Dvbe certification if you choose to, and you feel it's a fit for you. This is where you can search for solicitations, find your bid solicitations, and do all your research and access procurement information. This is also no cost to you. And the site itself is right there, www.caliprocure.ca.gov. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give you kind of like an idea of how the Cali Procure system looks like if you haven't visited it already. This is the Cali Procure homepage. So to begin, you'll want to log in or register. In the top right, there's different ways to go about that. Next, you click on the new bidder registration. This is if you're a new bidder, you click on the red there. I won't take you through the entire registration process, but in general, you'll enter information about your company and about you. There are a couple parts that I want to specifically talk about. And next slide, please. All right. The new bidder registration process begins here. This is where you would click. And once you are registered, the top right is where you're going to just log in. Next slide, please. All right. So just wanted to talk to you about what we recently added to our Cali Procure registration. We recently added a new voluntary supplier diversity data collection opportunity for all businesses, and registering with the state for currently registered businesses. You can enter this information when you register, or later by editing it in your bidder profile. The purpose of this diversity data collection is to allow the state to gain a better understanding of your information, of understanding of your registered and certified business demographics, your ethnicity, race, gender, identity, and sexual orientation. Businesses are encouraged to participate in this information. They'll be used to determine where outreach is needed amongst other various communities to support the greater diversity in state contracting. And diversity information will not be used to grant a preference in state contracting. The information is voluntary, so this is not required. The information of the owner of the company should be entered currently is the information you provide that is stored within our business profile and is not being displayed on our Cali Procure public sites or as a part of Sbdv certification public search. So however, by voluntarily providing your information, you agree and authorize the state to display the information in public certification profile if the state chooses to do so in the future. All right, next slide, please. So when you're registered, you come back to the Cali Procure webpage and you'll see your work center. This is your work center in a snapshot. You can see your user ID, bidder supplier ID, contact information, and certification information. If you're already certified, there are buttons to edit your information. Then the next step is to apply for certification. So as you can see that red button for certification, you could just click on there to get started. But if you scroll down and advance the slide and go past your work center, you'll see that Get Certified title. Next slide, please. So this is what I was referring to. Once you scroll down, you pass your work center and you click certified, the Get Certified tile. This is where it'll take you to the main certification page on Cali Procure. Next slide, please. All right. So here you can review all the information about certification and what you need to prepare for before you apply. So they'll give you everything you need. You can review the required documents, review your eligibility requirements, and much more. When you're ready to apply, just click the Get Certified button. Next slide, please. All right. So Cali Procure keywords, one of the most important parts of your profile in this area is where you describe the goods and services your company can sell. And you go through two systems, the keywords and the Unsp Sc Classification. So the keywords are singular individual words such as concrete, environmental, and legal that describe a good or service that you sell. Keywords allows you to find your company. Any word can be a keyword, and they are often the words we use when searching on the web browser. The keyword should be entered one word at a time, not as a sentence or a string of words. They should be singular and not plural. So it's not as user-friendly as you would be accustomed to doing like a Google search. So I just want you to be prepared for that and just navigate through the system or through Cali Procure. Go ahead and next slide, please. All right, so wanted to touch on the Unsp Sc Classification. That's 8 digits, it's an 8-digit code. Or 8-digit codes that identify good and service. This is how the state classifies its goods and services. These codes allows buyers to find your business, and they allow you to get notifications from Cali Procure. The codes are a hierarchy with 4 levels, which you can see in the example. And the higher the level, the more zeros the code has at the end of the description it gets broader. First level, the broadest category, paper, materials, and products with a code that only has the first 2 digits specified. And then level 4, as you'll notice, has the computer printout paper. We recommend that you select codes from levels 3 and 4. Next slide, please. So next, wanted to go over where you can find your solicitations to bid and where you can do your state purchases. And we're just gonna touch on this a little bit. I'm gonna give you my information. If you need more clarification, I'll definitely be able to help you through that. Next slide, please. So what you would do to go into Calorie Procure, you'd log in. Next slide. This is the start search button that you would see. Next slide. And this takes you to the California State Contracts Register. It uses the event to refer to a bid solicitation that you search for with a simple description of the bid solicitation or by the department. Next slide, please. All right, and there are advanced search criteria that you'll find here, such as the Unsp Sc code, service areas, or even the specific licenses. Next slide. And you'll find even more details on this page, such as the department name, event, and their end date. Next slide, please. All right, and to find and look at past purchases, you go to Cali Procure homepage and click the Find Public Procurement Information. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the skipper's data that I was referring to. This is where you would do all your research, and you could find exactly past purchases that you could go off of. And next slide, please. And oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and go in the next slide, please. The advocates, each state employee, these are state employees like myself. We work in purchasing at specific departments. They'll help you with small business and Dvbe contracts. Next slide. This is where you would find them in the system itself. Next slide, please. All right, just kind of breaking down exactly where to find where it's housed in the Cali Procure system. Next slide. And you can download the advocate directory to find all the different advocates. Next slide, please. I'll take you here. The X marks, those are basically breaking down all the construction for the different departments. And then the yellow marks are, the departments that are listed as Sbdve first policy departments. Next slide, please. And then the Sbdve emergency registry, this is a dedicated portal for California certified businesses that register for supplier emergencies, goods, and services. Different from Cali Procure, but we pretty much get all our information from, and it gives you, provides goods and services from predetermined emergency categories. So if you are a business that you feel can help the state departments and can access and search this pool of suppliers, you'll want to sign up for this, and I'll give you more information on what the emergency contracting is. Next slide, please. All right, and these are the different categories for the emergency registry. Next slide. and gives you information on how to register. Next slide, please. All right, and from here, they'll give you more information about the emergency registry. Next slide. Wanted to bring up commercially useful function, and what that means is basically telling you the emphasis on whatever the procurement approaches or the payment methods being used, that you have to perform a commercially useful function. Next slide, please. All this is really stating is that that the purpose of CUF is to prevent pass-through, to ensure that the preference is given to work performed on the contract. It's that CUF does not exist outside of the contract, so getting certified does not automatically mean that the firm already performs a commercially useful function. Next slide, please. And these are just the different resources. We've already had Mike with Ptac speak, the Sbdc, and SCORE, which is a business mentorship, just depending on where you're at in your businesses. Next slide, please. So I know I went through a lot of information, and I wanted to kind of touch on everything, but I don't expect you to remember all of these, but these are the information that we covered. And next slide, please. Our success stories, once you're in the position that, hey, you want a contract, we'd love to hear from you. You could reach out to business outreach at dgs.ca.gov. And then next slide, please. And to follow DGS, you could follow us through these updates and current events on LinkedIn to streamline important information about the business community that we're sharing. Next slide, please. And you could book an appointment with one of our staff members from DGS OSDS outreach team. So we could talk more about your business opportunities or contract opportunities, and just how to get registered and certified. And next slide, please. All right, and thank you so much, everyone. I went through this really fast. I hope I was able to at least get the important information that you were looking for as far as getting certified or registered to begin with. And again, my name is Darvin Manuel. You could reach me at businessaoutreach@dgs.ca.gov, and or you could book an appointment. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions from there. And that is all I have for you. Is there any questions at all? Or do we have time?
A couple. We do have a couple for you, Darvin.
Okay.
We can squeeze in real quick. So Caesar just wanted to confirm with you, his company or his LLC is under 2 years. How many years do you have to be in order to qualify for a Dvbe certification?
As far as qualifications, 2 years I think is good. You don't have to have more than 2 years. I could verify that just to be sure, but feel free to contact myself at businessaoutreach@dgs.ca.gov to confirm.
Perfect. And the next question is, what's the difference between a bid preference and a bid incentive?
Well, the bid preference really is you're getting that's what you're gonna get from an actual certification, whether it's small business or Dvbe. You get up to 3% for Dvbe and 5% for a small business. And then the preference it's going to depend on the contract itself. So we'd have to look at the contract to see what was listed on there.
I can answer that myself.
Sure. Go ahead, Mike.
Darwin is right. Okay, so the state of California has a preference for small business participation. So if you're a small business, you're provided a 5% bid preference. However, if there's an incentive for DVBEs, now all contracts don't have incentives built into them. So as they write a contract, they will have the DV or small business preference, which is 5%. And then as a disabled veteran business enterprise, there may be an incentive built into the contract from 0 to 5%. So it could be up to, it could be 1 through 5. So a total of 10% discount on your bid, or at least for bid valuation, if they have the preference for small business and the incentive for DVBE. So adding that together, when they do the evaluation, the total cannot be over, what was that? I think it's $100,000.
Yeah.
I forget, but I can verify that fact.
Thanks, Michael.
No worries, man. I got you.
So you're a popular one today, Darvin. Real quick, are there bid opportunities open year round, or are there specific key months we need to look for? If you wanted to clarify that for.
As far as as far as bids is concerned, it's really going to depend on the department itself. That's just part of the research that you're going to have to look through skippers, and also getting in front of these advocates that may be at the expo, or just researching their websites or contacting them directly.
Okay, great. And one last question for the sake of time. Is there a turnaround time for, or an actual, estimated time frame or a turnaround time for a certification? It looks like there's a couple that are waiting for their certification to get approved.
Sure. I was told by our certification team that they are backed up right now, and it has been taking about 8 to 10 weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, Mike. Mike might know also. Normally, it really could take just like 4 weeks or less, but just because they're backed up, it's taking a little longer than that.
Michael, did you want to add
Hi.
to that?
I've got, I'm here, Cheryl Brown here.
Sure.
Maybe I can respond. Sorry, I was trying to unmute and do what I need to do here. This is where I would highly recommend getting connected with your Ptac advisor or your Sbdc advisor. Currently, the small business certification, if the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, has an automatic approval. And currently, we find that the Dvbe is taking about 7 to 10 business days, but that's with the assistance of an advisor like Mike or myself, because what we're going to do is we're going to be the first line of defense. So we're going to review your documents before you actually submit it in case there's anything that might be missing. We're going to help walk you through the actual application process, because some of the questions are a little bit confusing, and they can be confusing if you're not used to the process. So I would say if you are waiting that long, you need to connect with one of the advisors to help you. And then also the State of California Small Business Department. I mean, they're wonderful and they'll help you as well. Chances are you may have answered a question incorrectly, unknowingly, or the documents weren't complete. But if it's taking you that long, I would definitely recommend connecting with either an Sbdc or a Ptac advisor, or contacting the Small Business Department there at the State of California.
Yeah, we have certification officers that can actually let you know what the status of your certification is. But from what I've been told, that is the reason why it's backed out and it's taking longer than expected. Thank you,
I'm
Cheryl.
loving the interaction that we're having in the chat and the joint efforts we're having to address these questions. Cheryl, since you did come out real quick, I did want to, this probably would be a better question for you than for Darvin. We did have someone ask, where should they get certified for WBE and MBE?
Great question. There are several different entities that do certify for those. My recommendation, some of them do have a membership fee associated with them. My recommendation is through Supplier Clearinghouse. So Supplier Clearinghouse will certify these woman-owned, minority-owned. In addition, the LGBTQ, and they have a new certification as well, which is persons with disabilities. And so currently, the only cost associated with that certification is the cost to have an affidavit notarized. So there are no additional fees or anything else. And that certification will be one of the biggest, spreads the widest net, if you will.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cheryl. And if you guys have any other follow-up questions for Darvin and Cheryl, they did share their information. And if you don't mind, if you can just drop it in the chat as well. So that way, for the sake of time, we could just move on into the agenda. But thank you, Darvin, for presenting today. It was very beneficial information.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Oh, thanks, Michael, for your assistance, and Cheryl as well.
No, I just wanted to make sure that when you talk about the certification, especially with the state of California, if in fact you have a bid that you're waiting on, that you're trying to get your certification for, so that you can get either the preference or the incentive, all you have to do is let us know by providing the page. It's usually the first page that says that there is a small business preference or incentive. And if that is the case, then you supply that to our certification unit, and they will turn around your application within 48 hours. Sometimes you could just call them and then they'll look at it and then you're done. That's only if you are using that certification or need that certification to get one of the two preferences. And if it's been a while, like some of you had said in your emails, all you have to do is go to OSDS Help, which is the online email, and just let them know, hey, I just want to know where my status is. That way they can give you an updated status as opposed to just looking at the screen saying it's still in the loop. So they're more than happy to give you an update. And sometimes by just asking for the update, they might just look at it real fast and boom. I don't tell anybody I said that, but once you ask questions, sometimes the review process, because they have to look at it right away to give you an update, they may just say, okay, yeah, thank you very much, it's done. Or they'll ask you a question to verify something, and then you would be finished then. That's my little hint.
So you heard
Anyway.
it straight from the horse's mouth. Michael or
Exactly.
Darvin, if you don't mind dropping that OSDS email in the chat, that would help, I think, significantly for the people that are having issues currently. Okay. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Darvin. I would now like to bring out Angela Bartel with MWS and Associates to talk about the Caltrans DBE supportive services. Welcome, Angela. Angela, are you still there?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So, thank you for the introduction. My name is Angela Bartel, and I'm a member of the MWS and Associates core team. It's a pleasure to join you today and share a little about the ways we can help your company be as competitive as possible when it comes to securing federal contract awards. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. MWS and Associates is a certified small business and DBE firm. For nearly a decade, we have been providing a wide range of consulting services, including capacity building and revenue generation. Our company is under contract with Caltrans to provide a business development program for potential and certified DBEs. And for this particular effort, the core members include Dr. Maria Williams Slaughter, who has over 30 years of experience in construction and asset management. Myself, Angela Bartel, who brings over 20 years of administrative experience in the public and private sectors and specializes in outreach and customer service. Yvette Berg, who is a federal contracting expert with over 20 years of experience in the procurement and contracting arena. And Lauren Slaughter, who recently graduated from Azusa Pacific University with a degree in business. Next slide, please. Our efforts related to this business development program are specifically focused in the Caltrans Southern section, which includes districts 7, 8, 11, and 12. Next slide, please. So we're here to help change the narrative. We all know that opportunities abound, and every year, billions of dollars in federal funding is spent on a wide variety of construction and professional service contracts. Through the Dbe Business Development Program, we are going to give small, yet highly capable businesses the assistance they need to successfully compete in this arena. Next slide, please. Some of you may be asking, what is a DBE? Next slide, please. A DBE is a small business where socially and economically disadvantaged individuals own at least 51% interest and have managerial and operational control of the business operations. If you are already DBE certified, great. You are that much closer to winning a federal contract award as either a prime or a sub, and we can help you get there. If you are not yet DBE certified, no worries. We can help with that as well. Next slide, please. We recognize that you are already experts in your respective fields and may just need some guidance to grow your business. To that end, Caltrans created the Business Development Program to provide supportive services. The goal is to ensure your company becomes a viable, self-sufficient organization that is capable of successfully competing for and performing on federally funded construction projects. These services are listed on the slide and are provided at no cost to you. Next slide, please. The Business Development Program essentially consists of 5 phases. Before starting the process, certified and potential DBEs will complete the intake form. This form notifies us that you are interested in the program, and you can access the intake form by scanning the QR code on this slide or visiting our website. Once you've completed this form, you will enter Development Phase 1. During this phase, you will complete the enrollment application. You will also complete a needs assessment, which we will review and tailor an individualized action plan to address any areas we feel you can improve on. During development phases 2 and 3, we will assist you with your action plan items, along with any certifications and/or NAICS codes your business may need. If you are not DBE certified or desire to be dual certified, we will assist you in obtaining your certifications as well. Once our requirements are met, you will move to transitional phase 1. During this phase, we will assist you in evaluating bid opportunities and with bid submittal on up to 2 Caltrans projects. You will then move to transitional phase 2, where we will evaluate the final disposition of contract awards and review any opportunities for improvement going forward. Although this flowchart does not cover everything involved, it is an overview of the steps of the Caltrans BDP. Next slide, please. If you are ready to start paving your road to success, please feel free to scan the QR code or reach out to us at the contact information at the bottom of the slide. Thank you, and we'll see you at the fair. That's all.
Thank you, Angela. It doesn't look like we have any questions right now, but like you mentioned, you will be a part of the upcoming procurement and resource fair. So if you wanted to catch them there, you can learn a little bit more about their services and how they can assist you with the DBE certification. I will bring Alex back to introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela, for sharing such a valuable resource with everyone. I'm excited that you were able to come out and provide that information. Now we'll go ahead and pass it to Jennifer Baker from Caltrans' Office of Civil Rights to talk to us about another certification that Caltrans recognizes, its advantages, requirements, and best practices. Welcome, welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Alex. So good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Baker, a certification analyst for the Office of Civil Rights. And today I'll be presenting the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, also known as the DBE Certification Overview. Next slide, please. The learning objectives for today is to speak about the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program overview, the benefits of being certified, the eligibility requirements, and the FAQs and resources. Next slide, please. So a DBE is a for-profit small business concern where socially and economically disadvantaged individuals own at least a 51% interest, if not more. And they control the management and daily business operations like Angela had touched on earlier. Next slide. A DBE program is a legislatively mandated program implemented by the states as a condition of receiving federal funds via the Federal Highway Administration, or FHWA, and the Federal Transportation Administration, also known as the FTA. Those two entities oversee the program for their respective areas. Next slide, please. So here are the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program objectives. To ensure non-discrimination in the award and administration of the United States Department of Transportation, US DOT, assisted contracts. Also to create a level playing field on which the DBEs can compete fairly. And to ensure that the department's DBE program is narrowly tailored in accordance with the applicable law. And lastly, to ensure the firms that meet the eligibility standards in the Code of Federal Regulations, 49 CFR Part 26. Next slide, please. So the benefits of DBE certification. The benefits are for DBE and or ACDBE, which is Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, to make sure those certifications are recognized by subrecipient local agencies in California. The benefits of DBE certification expands opportunities to participate on federally funded contracts and to become accessible to prime contractors needing to fulfill DBE participation goal requirements, and also to be listing on the official CUCP database. And lastly, it increases opportunities to network at events such as procurement fairs and pre-bids. Next slide, please. Next slide. So the excuse me, the California Unified Certification Program, also known as the CUCP, as mandated by the United States Department of Transportation and California's Unified Certification Program, is an agreement between multiple certifying agencies. The CUCP provides a public database to find DBEs. You can also view competitors' profile information on that website for finding DBE information. Next slide. So the CUCP certifying agencies are California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, Bay Area Rapid Transit, or BART, City of Fresno, City of Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, San Mateo County Transit District, San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, San Francisco International Airport, and lastly, Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. Next slide, please. Now we'll go into the Dbe eligibility requirements and the Dbe eligibility overview. So for a firm to be eligible for Dbe, they have to be socially and economically disadvantaged. They have to have ownership and control of the firm. They have to also be independent from other DBEs or non-DBE firms. They have to have a personal net worth of 1.32 million or less. And they also have to meet the business size standard as defined by the Small Business Administration. Next slide, please. The social and economic disadvantage section. So this refers to the 6 presumptive groups who are considered disadvantaged by the federal government. These include Asian Pacific Americans, Black Americans, African American, Hispanic American, Native American, Subcontinent Asian Americans, and women. If you do not fall within one of the presumptive groups, you can submit a narrative explaining how you are socially and economically disadvantaged. Next slide, please. To have ownership of a firm, you must be a for-profit small business where socially and economically disadvantaged individuals own at least 51% interest and control management and daily business operations. Ownership cannot be in name only. In the case where there are multiple owners, 51% must be comprised of socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. So it could be 40 and 20% to make up 60% majority owners. They have to be socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And then you could have one 40% that's possibly not. Next slide. So for control of a firm, the 51% or higher owners or owner must possess the required license or credential, if required by law, to own and or control a certain type of firm. This means that if you have an engineering firm with 3 owners, but only one holds the required license, that specific person must have management and daily control of business operations. Next slide. So independence of a firm, only an independent business may be certified as a DBE. This means that the business cannot be dependent on another firm to provide personnel, provide facilities, provide equipment, or financial support. The firm must stand on its own and be, they have to be able to not rely on someone else for profit of any kind. Let's see, next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about the personal net worth. The 51% or higher majority owner or owners must not exceed personal net worth of 1.32 million singularly. So it's not a collective cap of 1.32 million. It's singularly. Each person that makes up the majority ownership must not exceed 1.32 million each. The 51% majority owner or owners must not exceed the personal net worth, like I was just saying, 1.32 million. Your primary residence would not be included in this amount, nor would the value of your business be included in this amount. This is aside from those 2 issues. Although we do want you to list your primary home, the value and the amount that you owe on it, we still would like the information, but it does not count in your personal net worth. And next slide. So for the business size standard, 3-year average gross receipts cannot exceed 28.48 million. So what we do here is if you have been in business for 3 years or longer, we take the last 3 years, added together, divided by 3 to get the business size standard. However, there are different variations of caps, and it varies by industry. Some engineering firms can't go over, I believe it's 15.5 million, or it depends on your primary NAICS code as to what the cap size is. But according to the program, the cap is 28.48 million for the Dbe program. If you have less than a 3-year average gross receipts, you can contact our certification office for instruction on what to do. However, I can just let you know that if you are a new business, it's totally fine. You don't need to have 3 years of tax returns to apply for Dbe certification, because you can't give us what you don't have. So if you've been in business for 1 year, send the 1 year. 2 years, send the 2 years, and so on. If you have nothing, then you'll need to write a narrative and explain that you're a new business, and we will accept that in lieu of the tax return. Next slide, please. So when it comes to applying for Dbe certification, we'll talk about that. Next slide. This is the application process overview. Once we receive our application, it is assigned to us via our Dbe portal. We do not accept paper applications anymore. We can touch on that later, but this is how the process goes. So an application is assigned to a certification analyst like myself or several others in the office. The analyst conducts a review for any missing documentation and or requests for further clarification if needed. Like, let's just say you didn't upload any tax returns because you're a new firm. So if we see that that's missing, we will request a narrative in lieu of the tax return. However, you can make the process go faster by already doing that on the back end when you apply. So after we review for missing documentation, a site visit is scheduled and conducted. Right now, the site visits are conducted virtually because of COVID, and they have been ever since COVID started. So a site visit is scheduled with the firm and the primary owners, and we conduct that. Probably we would do like 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours, depending on what kind of firm it is. And after that is conducted, the analyst does a final review for eligibility recommendation. That's done in-house. So as far as the firm is concerned, once the site visit is done, everything else is done, finished in-house. That's the last thing that the firm needs to do, is the site visit. And then once the analyst conducts their final review and they make a recommendation, yes or no, it is forwarded through our Dbe portal to the management, and they make the final determination. Once the management makes determination, the firm is notified via email, and a follow-up letter is also sent. It's either yes or no, but we hope, for all yeses, and the certification determination is complete at that time. Next slide. Okay, so this is our new database, and you can reach it by californiaucp.dbesystem.com. And next slide, please. So this is how you would start to apply for certification. So go to dot.ca.gov, which is our old website, it still works. Then you click on Programs, and then you go to the Civil Rights page, and for the Office of Civil Rights. And then you click on Certification, and then, oh, I'm so sorry. This is how to find a certifying agency. I'm sorry about that. This is not for applying for Dbe certification. So this is to locate a firm that is already certified. Then you click on Find a certifying agency in California. Next slide, please. So this is how to apply for certification. When you are on that same website and you click on Apply for or Renew Certification, it'll take you to the next screen, which is number 8. The online certification screen will populate, and click on Create Account. If you have not already created one, you'll need to establish a username and password. Next slide, please. So to locate your firm, if you have made a username and password, you'll need to put in your tax ID, your business information, your contact information, and a company contact person should be assigned. Next slide. So just some key reminders to keep in mind. The complete application will be done within 90 days from when it was submitted to our office and when we received it. The Dbe application and personal net worth must be signed and notarized. Each person, I'll add to that, each person making up 51% or more ownership, primary owners, must have their own personal net worth statement, and it must be notarized. Make sure you upload the required documents, and you can use the direct link to access the Dbe portal system. That's the caltrans.dbesystem.com. That'll take you directly to the new Dbe portal, where you can start that process of applying for Dbe certification. Next slide. Frequently asked questions, and next slide. Is there a fee for applying for Dbe certification? No. The only cost associated with the Dbe certification is to notarize your application and P&W statement. Can I mail my application? At this time, all applications are to be submitted online at caltrans.dbesystem.com. If you do mail your application, we will send it back requesting that you follow the prompts to apply for Dbe certification on the portal at caltrans.dbesystem.com. How long does it take to get a response after I submit my application? After Caltrans receives all complete and necessary paperwork, it can take up to 1 month for a certification analyst to review your application and let you know if there are any missing documents or if we need additional information. Next slide. Caltrans Resources. So we have a certification analyst of the day every day, Monday through Friday, that works from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the office. And you can reach that person at 916-324-1700. You can also notify our Dbe inbox by sending an email to dbe.certification@dot.ca.gov. And our US DOT Dbe program has the website information there. And the Dbe federal program, the FHWA, for the regulations and questions about that is www.fhwa.dot/civil rights/programs/Dbe. And next slide, please. All right, so now we are at the point of our Q&A session.
Thank you, Jennifer. We do have a couple. So I don't know if you want to clarify a little bit. We did have a question in regards to approving minorities as a DBE. I know that there can be some confusion as MBE and DBE, what's the differences, or if you want to just clarify that for the group.
Of course, yeah. So the DBE is for, of course, disadvantaged business enterprise for federal funded contracts. The MBE, which is a minority business enterprise, and the WBE, which is the women business enterprise, those two certifications are not federally funded. It is a program that Caltrans does as well as the Supplier Clearinghouse. But that certification is for city and county contracts. And Caltrans does not have any goals. So we don't advertise it very often, but we do have those two programs as well. It's a different application also. And strangely enough, that is done via the mail. So you can obtain our application online or call the analyst of the day and they can email it to the firm. And it's probably about a 5-page application, very easy. And are there any other questions?
I think, thank you for clarifying that, Jennifer. I did want to mention that each agency or public agency does recognize different certifications. They all may sound familiar, similar to one another. So I would just suggest either attending a procurement fair and talk to each individual respective agency, or we can also distribute our PAC brochures, which kind of tells you which local agencies recognize what certifications, or you can also go to your local Ptac or Sbdc and find out more about those different certifications as well. I did get one. Do disabled individuals have the same classifications as the others?
So disabled individuals, if they do not fall into the presumptive groups, they need to establish social and economic disadvantage by sending a narrative of why they have been discriminated against and why they feel that they are disadvantaged socially and economically.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Charles. And there was one other question from Q. I don't know, I don't think this pertains to you necessarily, Jennifer. Q's question is, if by contracting with the airport, do they get access to TSA, or is that something that's completely different process? I believe that would be something that would be directed to the airports or San Diego Regional Airport directly.
Yes.
They will be in attendance at our procurement and resource fair. So again, we'll drop in the link for registration and you can speak to them personally, or you can reach out to our small business team and we'll get you connected to the next best contacts for that. But thank you, Jennifer. Other than that, I don't believe we have any further questions. So I'll go ahead and bring back Alex to introduce our last speaker today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce to you all Caltrans District 11's Training and Development Manager to explain to you all our procurement process. Welcome, Mila.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. So I would like to give you a very brief procurement process overview, only because I have 20+ years of experience doing procurement, and through all those years, conducting business with you has been a pleasure. So thank you for being here. Okay, so before we do any acquisitions of goods and services, before we reach out to you for quotes, we have to plan our purchase and we have to determine if the items we need to purchase are available to us internally. So first we have to check the Caltrans warehouse and also the Sacramento warehouse to see if they have what we need. If they don't have it, then we have to check our surplus property programs, both with the Department of General Services and within Caltrans. and that's usually for furniture. If they don't have what we need, then we have to check the California Prison Industry Authority to see if they sell what we're trying to find. If they don't have it, then we have to check our leverage procurement agreements to see if we can find what we're trying to purchase within a state contract. Some state contracts are mandatory, by the way. If they don't have it, then we can reach out to a DGA certified Sbdb or Dbe supplier. And it is at this point that we will be requesting quotes from you. And we look for competition. And so we utilize either the less than $10,000 or up to $50,000 solicitation packages to get quotes from you. After we plan our purchase, we have to determine what is the most appropriate procurement method. We can do an invitation for bid, which is the most common method we utilize, or request for proposal when we're trying to purchase, not to purchase a good, but most to solicit a consultant expertise to try to accomplish something. We can also do a request for qualifications for purchases between $10,000 and $50,000. We can also utilize a non-competitive bid method when no non-competitors exist and the department can fully justify the need for an NCB. We also have invitation for price quote. This is a streamlined process that we like very much, where we contract with DGA certified small businesses or micro businesses or DBBEs. And we also have a service agreement under $10,000, which is also a streamlined process that can be utilized when the dollar amount is less than $10,000, and it goes so much faster than a regular service contract. So the solicitation packages we use, we can either use a less than $1,000 solicitation package, which just requires 2 quotes, or for purchases over $10,000, then we can send you a solicitation package, which is a form we will be sending you to realize this purchase. For purchases of goods or services that are non-information technology, that are less than $10,000, we can utilize the CalCard, which is a credit card, a Visa. The CalCard program is an alternative payment mechanism utilized by the department for the acquisition of goods and services from suppliers. And the single purchase limit for the CalCard is $9,999.99 per transaction. We can also purchase services with a CalCard through a CalCard service agreement, also for the same amount of money, including all applicable taxes, and when the term of the contract or the agreement is no more than 2 years. In order to purchase with CalCard, we need to meet several requirements. We will need a pay data record and a CalCard certification from the business. We also need a California seller's permit. We also need proof of SB or Dvbe certification. We need a tax delinquency status. We need a recycled content certification. We need the commercially useful function form. We also need to comply with Executive Order N-622, which is economic sanctions against Russia and Russian entities and individuals, and this is a new requirement for us. We also have to comply with the Therefore Contracting Act for services. We also need 2 or more price quotes from DGA certified SBs or DBBEs. And once the purchase has been executed, we will need an itemized sales invoice and or a sales receipt. And by the way, the invoice needs to have an invoice number. To purchase information technology items, we have additional requirements because we need to ensure that the hardware or software we're purchasing is compatible with our system, and we also need to ensure that it maintains safe the integrity of our networks. So the information technology procurement has to go through the IT procurement and controls department, which is responsible for processing our IT purchases for goods and services. When we make an IT purchase, we submit a justification to this department. They will review the state contracts index listing to see if the item we seek to purchase is mandatory through an LPA. If the item is not sold through a mandated LPA, then we can purchase from an SB or DBBE, which is our preferred method. And the purchase has to be done with through either PO or CalCard, depending on what we're trying to purchase. After receiving the appropriate information technology approvals, then we proceed with the purchase using the procurement method that is appropriate, which includes the call card. After we receive the quotes from you and we have determined the procurement method, we need to check and see if your business is listed in our internal financial databases. We will not be able to write a procurement document if it's not. If it's not listed in our databases, we will be sending you a payee data record and a Caltrans certification forms that you can complete and return to us. Once you return them to us, it takes about a day or so to put you in our system. We also need to check and verify that the Sb and Dbe certifications are current, and we do that ourselves accessing the DGS portal. The business also needs to provide us a California seller's permit or give us a number, and then we can use a number to verify the status and also retrieve the California seller permit from the BOE website. We also need to check that the purchasers are not in the sanctions list, as we discussed, in order to comply to Executive Order N622. And we access this tool, this link to the Department of the Treasury Office of Foreign Asset Control. And we will see if your business is listed there. We're looking to see that it's not listed there. And we also need to check there's a couple of websites we need to check to verify the tax delinquency status. Lastly, we have the commercially useful function form that we need the Calorie cycle goals. We need to meet some Calorie cycle goals. We have to purchase items that have the post-consumer recycled content, or a PCRC. There's a website in the Calorie cycle webpage where we can see what those goals are. And we ask the vendor to complete and submit this post-consumer content certification form with the purchases. We ideally would like this form when we receive the invoice from the vendor. And lastly, we have the consumer useful function form that needs to be completed. And our colleague Darby Manuel already explained how that works. And that's it for me. Do we have any questions?
That was very quick, Mila, but that was a lot of beneficial information. A lot of these processes have changed since last year. So if you do have any contracts existing or previous to before, definitely keep in mind of the changes that have been implemented recently. But it looks like they're letting you go easily, Mila. If you do have any, actually, I spoke too soon. So how does your company get on the list for the purchase card program or for the CalCard program?
There is really no list for the CalCard program. All we need to do is we just ask the business for quotes. Then we check and see if they are in our database. If they are, we're good to go. We just write up the procurement document and make the purchase. If they are not, we'll send them the form, the pay data record form and CalCard certification. Once we get it back, we send it to our accounting department, and within a day or two, they'll be listed in our internal database, and then we can purchase.
Perfect. Thank you, Mila. And then this one is in regards to paying invoices. Once an invoice is submitted to be processed, how do they get paid? Is it 50% deposit and balance upon delivery, or how does that work?
If it's for CalCard, we pay the invoice in full as soon as it's received using the CalCard. If it's not a CalCard purchase, if it's a purchase order, once we receive the invoice, we will submit it to accounting for payment, and we cannot do 50% advances. We normally have to obtain the services, and then we submit, once the services have been rendered or the items have been received, then we submit the invoice to accounting for payment.
Yeah, and which Mila brings a really great point. For those that are new to government contracting, I want to say almost 100% of the time, I know there probably might be some nuances, but I want to say majority of the time, government agencies will not pay until items or services have been rendered or items have been received. So there is that grace period of not being able to have the payment up front, how it is traditionally made in like a storefront or whatnot. But just to keep everyone in mind. But if you have any follow-up questions in regards to that, we also do have, again, the Ptac and Sbdc have great resources if you need some type of funding to afloat you for during those types of transactions. But thank you, Mila, for presenting today. You did give us such beneficial information. So we'll go ahead and close out today's event. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. A special thanks to all of our guest presenters, which includes Mike Sabelico with Ptac, Cheryl Brown, Sbdc, Darvin Manuel with DGS, and Jennifer Baker with the Office of Civil Rights, the Certification Unit, and Mila with our district office for taking the time to present today such beneficial information that will hopefully prepare you for our procurement and resource fair on August the 31st. And for the audience, before you exit today's session, you will be prompted upon exit with a brief 2-minute survey about how today's event was. If you can please take the time to complete the survey and tell us how we can better improve our future events, that would definitely be helpful. But remember, we are just a month away from our annual procurement and resource fair. So register today by clicking on the slide or scanning the QR code with your cell phone. This flyer will also be shared along with today's presentation. So if you don't catch it right now, we will send it to you shortly. And if after today you feel that you would benefit with a conversation from one of our small business teams, either Alex or myself can offer a 30-minute virtual one-to-one meeting to discuss any further questions that you might have. You can email us at d11.smallbusiness@dot.ca.gov to get one scheduled. So thank you all for joining us today and enjoy the remainder of your day. Thank you.